Have you ever heard of the Featherless Angel of Anatolia? It's a legend that whispers through the ancient stones and forgotten pathways of the region. This isn't the kind of angel you see in paintings with soft, white feathers. No, this one is different. It's a creature born from shadow and fear, a story that has been passed down through generations, each telling adding another layer to its chilling legacy. Imagine the Anatolian landscape thousands of years ago. Remote villages nestled in valleys, surrounded by mountains that seemed to touch the sky. Life was hard, and the nights were long and dark. It was in these nights that the legend took shape. The story begins with ancient stone reliefs, carvings found in ruins that predate many known civilizations. These weren't just decorative patterns. They depicted a terrifying figure, a humanoid shape, but with large, leathery wings like those of a bat. The most unsettling detail, repeated in every carving, was the absence of feathers. These wings were just stretched skin over a bony frame, wings that wouldn't rustle or sing in the wind. They were made for silence. The carvings showed this creature descending from the night sky, not with a grand announcement, but with a quiet, deliberate grace that was far more sinister. It was called the Featherless Angel, a name that perfectly captures its unsettling, paradoxical nature. According to the legend, the angel never appeared during the day. It was a creature of the moon and stars, or more accurately, of the moonless, starless nights when the darkness was absolute. It would glide down from the mountains, its leathery wings making no sound, and land silently in a village. It didn't break down doors or shout. Its methods were far more subtle and far more terrifying. It would choose a house at random and simply stand at the doorway. Just stand there, a tall, silent silhouette against the deep black of the night. Villagers who claimed to have seen it from a distance and survived spoke of its stillness. It was as if a statue had been placed at their neighbor's door. The only sign of life was the slow, rhythmic rise and fall of its chest. It would stand there for what felt like hours, breathing. A slow, deep, deliberate breath that was said to be colder than the winter air. In and out. The sound was so faint you could barely hear it, but those who did said it was a sound you could feel in your bones, a sound that promised an unnatural end. The angel's true danger wasn't in its claws or its strength, but in its presence. It preyed on a very human trait: curiosity. Imagine being inside your home, hearing a faint, rhythmic sound just outside your door. It's not a knock, it's not a voice, it's just breathing. What would you do? The temptation to open the door, to see what's there, would be immense. And that's exactly what the angel counted on. It was a test of willpower, a deadly game of patience. Those who succumbed to curiosity, who unlatched their doors to peer into the darkness, met a strange and horrifying fate. The legend says they were never attacked in the traditional sense. There were no signs of a struggle, no marks on their bodies. When their families or neighbors found them days later, they were still standing in their doorways, eyes wide open, staring into nothing. They looked as if they were frozen in that moment of discovery, their hands still on the door, but their hearts had stopped. It was as if the very sight of the featherless angel, the confirmation of the terror outside, was enough to extinguish the life from their bodies. The cause of death was always the same: pure, undiluted fear. The story spread from village to village, carried by travelers and merchants. Fear of the silent, winged creature became a part of life. People began to take precautions. They would bar their doors, of course, but they knew a simple wooden bar was no match for a supernatural entity. They needed a more profound defense, something rooted in ritual and respect. This is where the architecture of the region began to change in a very specific and interesting way. An ancient tradition was born out of this terror. If you travel through Anatolia today and visit some of the oldest surviving structures, you might notice something peculiar about the doorways. They are unusually low. So low, in fact, that even a person of average height has to bow their head to enter. This wasn't a mistake or a result of poor craftsmanship. It was a deliberate design, a defense mechanism born from the legend of the featherless angel. The logic was simple, yet brilliant. The angel was described as a tall, proud creature. It stood erect at the doorway, waiting. The low doorways were designed to force anyone who entered to bow. This act of bowing was seen as a sign of humility and respect. The villagers reasoned that such a proud and terrifying being would not stoop to enter a home. It would be an insult to its nature. By lowering their doorways, they weren't just making it physically difficult to enter. They were creating a symbolic barrier. Any visitor, human or otherwise, had to show deference before crossing the threshold. This architectural feature became a widespread tradition. A low doorway was a sign that the people within were aware of the ancient dangers, that they respected the old ways and the dark things that lurked in the night. It was a silent prayer built into the very structure of their homes. Children were taught from a young age, never open the door at night to a strange sound, and always bow your head when you enter a home, for you never know what you might be showing respect to. Over centuries, as villages grew into towns and towns into cities, the legend of the featherless angel began to fade. The dark, isolated nights were replaced by the glow of lanterns and eventually electric lights. The silent mountains no longer seemed so menacing. The story of the winged creature became just that, a story, a piece of folklore to tell children to keep them from wandering out after dark. The low doorways were seen as a quaint architectural quirk, their original, terrifying purpose forgotten by most. But the carvings remain. Those ancient stone reliefs are still there, etched into the rock, a permanent record of the fear that once gripped this land. They show the leathery winged figure, descending in silence, a chilling reminder of a time when the night held more than just darkness. It held the featherless angel, waiting patiently at the door. And when you look at those carvings and then you see the ancient low doorways scattered across the Anatolian countryside, you can't help but wonder. Was it just a story? Or was it a memory, carved in stone and built into homes, a warning from the past that we have long since forgotten how to read? The legend serves as a powerful metaphor for the unseen fears that can paralyze us. The angel didn't need to use force. Its mere presence and the victim's own imagination were its deadliest weapons. It's a testament to how our own minds can be our greatest enemy. The solution the villagers found wasn't to fight the monster, but to outsmart it with humility and respect, fundamentally changing their daily lives and their homes. It's a fascinating look at how folklore can shape culture and even architecture, leaving a physical legacy that outlives the fear that created it. The next time you have to duck to enter an old building, take a moment. You might just be participating in an ancient ritual, a defense against an angel without feathers. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the shadows of Anatolian folklore. If you enjoy exploring the hidden corners of history and legend, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what you think of the featherless angel. Until next time, stay curious.